Good Thursday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, Virginia, the historic downtown mall in Charlottesville, Virginia. We have an audience of the city we love dearly, Charlottesville, the county we love dearly, Albemarle County, the region we love dearly, Central Virginia, the state we love dearly, the Commonwealth of Virginia, our country, the fine country that we call the United States, and the world at our disposal. It's the Thursday afternoon edition of the I Love CVille Show. Yours truly and Judah Wickower. Enjoy connecting with you guys through the I Love CVille Network, where we utilize localized content to keep you, the viewer and listener, informed with what's going on in our community, in our Commonwealth, in our country, in our world. Here's a rundown of the topics we're going to cover today. Folks, you got a lot of chain stores closing, a lot of them. We're going to give you some insight into the stores that are closing today. You got CarLotz closing half its stores. As of now, Charlottesville's CarLotz on Pantops will remain open. The stock price will give you some insight into what's going on with the CarLotz stock price. Friend of the program, all-around great guy, nice guy, community stakeholder, Ned Galloway, the general manager at CarLotz Pantops. He, of course, on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. We'll talk about chains and big box brands that are closing, and they're closing fast. They're closing quickly, as big box brands are looking to restructure balance sheets and to restructure their models, their business models, as we head into undoubtedly recessionary times where every single dollar counts and is even more valuable. So that topic on today's program. Chief Brackney's up to her old tricks again. Yet another tweet on her social media, this one a retweet, about the mayor. Yes, the mayor, Lloyd Snook. Here's the retweet. We'll talk about it in about 1 minute on the program. I'll read it to you verbatim. Here goes. So, Mayor Lloyd Snook needs to look at the policies and procedures to fire an insurrectionist. But Chief Brackney was just, well, she was just fired. It's interesting which people in the city actually get some thought put behind their termination. That tweet is loaded with quite a bit. We will try to unpack what that tweet, the true meaning of that tweet from Chief Brackney is. I will be very straightforward to you. This tweet is alluding, certainly from her, that she was undoubtedly fired because she was a black woman. That's what this tweet means to me. I'll get Judah's take on this as Brackney compares her firing on social media to the non-firing of an insurrectionist working in City Hall. Today we will also discuss no medical marijuana cards needed on July 1. I've said on this program many times, I think once it finds its legs, once it starts maturing, cannabis right now, from a legal standpoint, is like an infant. It's like a baby fresh out of the womb. And once that baby fresh out of the womb gets some neck control and some core strength, some leg stability, and some confidence to walk across the living room, because that baby's watching his brother, his older brother, walk across the living room, and that baby says, hey, I want to be just like you, big bro. So the baby tries to walk across the living room the same way. Once cannabis, who is undoubtedly a baby right now from a legal standpoint, lacking maturation, lacking core strength, head control, leg stability, and confidence, once it starts maturing and heading to adolescence, I've said on this program, I think cannabis is going to be more impactful for Central Virginia than the beer business, the brewery business ever was. And I stand by that. We'll talk about no medical marijuana cards needed on July 1 today on the program. We will also highlight what I've learned this week and today and what Judah's learned this week. And on that note, let's welcome the, what did Kevin Higgins call you yesterday? Not the jack of all trades, the jack of all thoughts, the jack of all wit. The jack of all wit. Good afternoon, jack of all wit. How are you?
I think that's a double entendre Because I'm witty.
What?
And because my last name is Whitcower.
Oh, you think that's what the play was? He acknowledges that you're witty, because you are witty, and your last name starts with W-H-I-T.
Except it's only W-I-T.
Oh, gosh, I've been working with you for 10 years. W-I-T. Do you think that's the... It's a tough last name to spell.
Yeah, I mean, if you've just heard it, if you've only heard it and you're trying to figure out...
Of your two names, which gets misspelled the most? Because I've worked with you for 10 years, and I've seen both misspelled quite a bit. First name mispronounced from time to time. I think there was a period of our 10-year period of time where, in retrospect, this wasn't perhaps the best advice. I said to you somewhere along the halfway marker of us working at V&V Brands together, 5 years in, I'm like, Judah, people can't say your last name, or your first name. Let's just call you JW, please. Do you remember that?
I remember something like that.
I was like, JW is your name. We need a nickname. JW manifested J-Dubs and birthed J-Dubs. Which one is misspelled or mispronounced the most?
I'd say Judah is more often misspelled now, but more because I think it's just more common to see my name spelled or actually spoken. I'd say my first name is misspoken more than either of them is misspelled. But it used to be when mail was still a thing, snail mail was still a thing, and we didn't have computers automatically transcribing the exact spelling of your first and last name onto a onto a letter,
onto an envelope.
Yeah. Then that was when we saw the most egregious examples of misspellings of my last name. And that would have been last name more commonly.
Now that you're contributing so much to the I Love CVille show, I fully expect Judah Whitcower to ring and resonate from Carter's Mountain to the Blue Ridge, across the Parkway, the Bypass, Route 29, and the Downtown Mall, because you've been contributing to the program. And speaking of mail...
And if someone adds an extra H here or there, I will be very forgiving.
Oh, you're the most forgiving when it comes to that. You've had a lot of practice with this. And speaking of mail, this is before we get into the show here. So we run a handful of businesses, right, from the Macklin building, as you know. I mean, you're actively involved with running the businesses. We know there's the real estate portfolio where we have 24 tenants. You help manage that portfolio. We have the podcasting network, which we've dubbed or branded the I Love CVille Network. You're actively involved with that. And we have the advertising agency V&V Brands, which is the longest tenured of the businesses, as you know. 14 years we just celebrated at the end of May. This is the topic I want to bring up, mail. So as a small business owner, one of the things you do not do here, you do not do at the three companies, is accounting and invoicing, the payroll, receivables, and accounts receivables and accounts payable. Dude, the mail has been so inconsistent. When the invoices go out and they say, we will give you net 30, you have 30 days to pay your invoice. Oftentimes, clients who have been in the game or on our roster as clients for years are mailing their checks to the invoices on time, but the mail has been so inconsistent, they're coming considerably later than the 30 days. As a small business owners everywhere are going to have this plight, this challenge, this trial in the very near future. Changing their small business from receivables and payables associated with snail mail, checks coming to a P.O. box, to either some kind of direct deposit, ACH, PayPal. I mean, the problem with PayPal is PayPal takes a good chunk.
Yeah.
Other folks are like, just pay with credit card. Fine and dandy until the credit cards take 4%. PayPal's taking 2-3%. ACH, there's a charge for that. I mean, the next plight for the small business owner, especially the small business owner that's in the B2B space, business to business, is optimizing the receiving of payments.
Yeah.
Because the mail ain't cutting it.
Right.
All right, let's get into the lead of the story. lead of the show today. Chief Brackney's up to it again. And maybe, you know what? Let's talk about this. Is exactly what's happening what Chief Brackney wants?
What, we're talking about it?
Exactly. Put a tweet out there, a retweet out there, put in air quotes that I have secret audio recordings, which she has said. Talk about a bitter, scorned woman, which she is. Is this exactly what she wants?
Well, somebody made a good point the other day that it must have been Alex that that she's taken her lead from Johnny Cochran's old firm.
She's represented by Johnny Cochran's firm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where she's taking her lead from. They pointed out that it's doubtful that she's doing any of this stuff on her own.
See, that's where I respectfully disagree.
They would not be letting her just go wild on Twitter and just tweet whatever she wants if they are in control. I mean, they have a plan.
Well, she retweets. I'll clarify. Let me clarify. She's doing one a day, as we've talked about. And she retweets yesterday this. And I'm going to read it verbatim.
This was a couple days ago, wasn't it?
This was yesterday, June 20. She sent it yesterday. Because you're looking at the timestamp of the original tweet.
Yeah.
So, Snook needs to look at the policies and procedures to fire an insurrectionist, but Brackney was just, fired. It's interesting which people in the city actually get some thought put behind their termination. She's alluding to racism, woman, black, for reasons she was fired. That's what that is alluded to.
Maybe. I mean,
come on. You know that's the allusion. What else could it be? She's saying she was fired without cause, while there's someone that works in public safety on Charlottesville City payroll that was in the Capitol on, January 6, 2021, and who had content on his social media prior to being in the Capitol that would align with Proud Boys, anti-BLM, radical right. And this particular person was not canned, pink slip, fired, let go, but Brackney was.
Right, because these are two completely unrelated events. And her retweet is exceedingly simplistic. I mean...
Well, such as Twitter.
But,
and I'm not standing up for Brackney, but such as Twitter, you have limited characters.
Yeah, but this isn't just limited. People write multiple tweets and do like part 1, part 2, part 3. This, even as a single tweet, is simplistic.
It comes with context.
Snook needs to look at policies and procedures to fire an insurrectionist. Well, yeah.
It comes with context clues of previous tweets, though. If this was just done as the first and only tweet, then you're right. There's no context. But there's context. There's a lawsuit. There's the $3 million lawsuit in November. There's the $10 million lawsuit last week. And then there's the tweets that have been coming for the last couple weeks.
Yes, but Brackney was just ... fired? That's not even true. It's not like it's not like Brackney walked into the mayor's office and got fired for forgetting to do something or, leaving the door unlocked.
That particular retweet has been seen, liked, quote, tweet, and retweeted by a lot of people, including a professor at the University of Virginia, John Edward Mason. So, Nikiah Walker liked that tweet.
I mean, that's not a surprise.
Nikiah liked that retweet. She's been very quiet on social media about all of this. Very quiet. Let's go, before we change topics, I want the compare and contrast of the firing of Brackney versus the non-firing of the insurrectionists. And I understand that the assistant police chief has said the insurrectionist and what he is doing on his free time in other jurisdictions is not in the purview of the CPD.
Yeah, I mean that's all you really need to say. The big point with Brackney is that, from what we know, there was danger of a dissolution at the police force. I mean, people were threatening to walk out. She was directly in charge of the Charlottesville Police Department.
But I will say this.
Whether or not it was founded, that was the reasoning. To say that this guy who was doing something that had absolutely nothing to do with his job should be fired there's no equivalency between the two, the firing and the potential firing.
It's very well said, very well put. Very well put. And the fact that he has his job still backs up your statement. 100% backs up your statement.
Also the fact that apparently the FBI investigated him and
well, she's clouded the clearing of the FBI of this city employee with previous tweets of saying, hey, not so fast, my friends. The FBI thinks this is a big deal. We can get to those in a matter of moments. But I want to say this, okay? I want to say this. There's no doubt in my mind that Brackney was using the Charlottesville police chief position as a stepping stone job to a better position. Okay. She was on the short list of the Dallas, Texas police chief job. That information was leaked. We covered it on this talk show. She wanted to go from Charlottesville to Dallas. Dallas is a larger metropolitan area, so the police chief position undoubtedly more prestigious and likely more lucrative. She was fired, and the reason she was fired by Charlottesville City Hall was because of losing leadership within the department, which was leading to attrition, vacancies, and open positions. This is why Chip Boyles fired her. Mm-hmm. His fear was most of the department was going to leave if he had not have done this move of firing her, and he based it on a survey from the Police Benevolent Association, results from that survey.
Yeah, that's our understanding of it.
Boyles said, if I don't make this move, more officers will quit and the department will be a skeleton of its former self.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this in. Today, June 23rd, 2022, there's still roughly 25% vacancy in the Charlottesville Police Department. So firing of Brackney has not made that attrition, those vacant positions, full or filled.
It hasn't reversed what's happened.
It has not put more boots on the street or more boots on the beat or more boys in blue, women in blue on the force protecting 10.2 square miles. It has not done it.
Right.
So we're in this rock and a hard place. If you're a police chief, would you take this job? Al Thomas lasted a New York minute, like legitimately a cup of coffee on the job. Brackney lasted a couple of years, right? A handful of years on the job. The interim chief, Tito Durrett, who I got a lot of respect for, is actively named in a $10 million lawsuit. Actively named in a $10 million lawsuit.
Yeah.
Whoever's going to hire the police chief here is not even going to be the police chief's boss. Because remember, they're going to hire the chief before a permanent city manager was named. That's like hiring a college football coach before naming the athletic director. When the athletic director comes into the athletic department at the college, that athletic director may or may not want to put his or her coach into the most prestigious position, the football coach, the football team. The city manager. What is the most prestigious position a newly minted city manager can hire or fire? The police chief. I would say the police chief is more prestigious or a more talked about position than assistant or deputy city manager, would you not?
Sure.
Do you know who the deputy city managers are in Charlottesville, Virginia?
Of course not.
You do not?
No.
Do you know who the last 3 police chiefs were in Charlottesville, Virginia?
Not really.
You could name I just named 2 of them.
Yeah, well,
Who are the last 3 police chiefs in Charlottesville, Virginia?
I mean, besides Brackney.
That's 1. What's 2?
Oh, let's see. You're talking about the.
He was there for a New York Minute, a cup of coffee.
I forgot his name.
Al Thomas.
Yeah.
What was the one before good old Al?
I'm not sure.
He may or may not be the police chief at the University of Virginia. Tim Longo.
I was thinking Longo, but I wasn't 100%
Well,
sure.
the deputy city managers are Ashley Marshall and Sam Sanders.
Okay.
You stop someone on the side of the road on the downtown mall or on Market Street in Charlottesville, and you say, name the police chief. They're going to name that. You say, name the assistant or deputy city managers. They're not going to name Ashley Marshall or Sam Sanders. News junkies like me, perhaps, but the average Joe or the average Betty won't. So I want to ask someone this question. You're a qualified and well-credentialed police chief. You hear the Charlottesville job is open, and then you do a little research. And when you do a little research, you say, hey, one former police chief is suing their employer for $10 million, claiming or alleging racism, sexism, and wrongful termination due to being a black woman and some wheeling and dealing associated with a PBA survey. The one before that, Al Thomas, was given hush money and was barely on the job a New York Minute. The interim police chief, Tito Durrett, is actively named in a lawsuit that the police chief before him is put into play. Oh, and one more wrinkle. The people that are going to hire you as the new chief of Charlottesville's police force, they're not going to be my boss once I get my feet wet in the department, because it's a consultant city manager that's going to be only on the job for a short while longer, maybe a year. Eventually, a new city manager, a permanent one, will be hired. So I got to ask myself, am I going to take the Charlottesville job knowing that one former police officer got hush money and was barely on the gig at all? The other former police chief is involved in a $10 million lawsuit that she is leading. The current interim police chief is being named in the $10 million lawsuit, and then there's no permanent boss or city manager to hire me. Someone's eventually going to come in after I've been hired to run the city and potentially not have a connection with me as the top guy on the job. Why would you take that position? Is this Mark Woolley all over again? The city manager from Pennsylvania who quit the day before he was supposed to take the city manager job?
I think there's a gif of that.
What's the gif?
The kid comes walking in and whoop, turns around and walks back out.
Mark Woolley.
Didn't like what he saw.
Mark Woolley, the kid we all grew up with, playing basketball at the Dell. Oh, I don't like that.
What are you talking about?
This is Mark Woolley, the kid we all grew up with, playing basketball in the backyard or on the playground. I don't like that call you just made. I'm taking my basketball and I'm going home and you guys can't play anymore. Not showing up to work the day before he confirms and contractually agrees to a city manager job. Let's go to Earl Smith. Earl Smith not only has fantastic hair, not only does Earl Smith have great vocals, not only Earl Smith does he play the guitar like Jimi Hendrix, but Earl Smith is just an all-around great guy. He said if you learn phonics, then you can spell Judah Wickhauer, damn it.
Exactly.
He also said, it cracked me up that Brackney named Tito Durrett as part of this lawsuit.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, how does her assistant police chief...
He wasn't the assistant police chief then.
He wasn't so...
He's the interim police chief now. He was not the assistant police chief when she was there.
But was he in a position of power over
Oh, yeah.
her?
He was one of the key guys in the department. Jim Mooney was her assistant then. Tito is the interim now because Mooney has since retired from the PD. That's another thing I didn't think about. When this Brackney turmoil was going down initially, Mooney was the hand-picked guy to replace Brackney. And Mooney said, peace, I'm out. I don't want this. I don't want anything to do with this. Why would an experienced person take this gig? Earl Smith says, bingo, Jerry Miller. Bingo again, Jerry Miller. Earl Smith, the voice of an angel. The guitar playing ability of Bob Seger, Tom Petty, and Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix, Bob Seger, and Tom Petty had a baby, it would be Earl Smith.
Oh, man.
He says, wasn't the remainder of her contract bought out? Folks in these positions are subject to termination before the contract ends due to various reasons, mostly due to job performance and morale. He says the position is still open, so why would you want to join the police when there is no direction for the future of the department? Yeah. When a large portion of the community wants to defund the department.
Yeah. I mean, that's not just Charlottesville.
The socialists in Charlottesville wanted to fund the department. They're like, why is the department getting 20, 21, 22 million a year, whatever the number is, it's in that ballpark. We want to know what the budget's about. And do you think the insurrectionist, the guy who was in the Capitol, should still be employed by the city?
I don't see any reason to fire him just because he did
He works in public safety.
Is he gonna? I mean, is there a problem with that? I mean,
A public safety employee who...
You don't have to raise your voice to make a point. What's the
public
point?
safety employee
No, but what's the
who was
point?
rioting inside the Capitol?
He wasn't rioting, though. You can't just say he was rioting because he was there.
Do you not think it's...
We require proofs for things like this.
And there's not enough proof for you. The social media content that he posted on his Twitter and social accounts prior to being inside the Capitol.
I mean, we're talking.
There's not enough proof with that
We're talking
content.
about firing people for what they believe. I mean, I know that flies in some places, and some people may be fine with that, but I have serious problems with S-canning someone because they happen to support a particular organization. Like, how many people support BLM, and how much stuff went on 2 summers ago?
But you don't have an issue with the dude being inside the Capitol during a riot that humiliated the country and will forever live in infamy in this nation's history. That will forever live in infamy in our nation's history.
This is why we are not a democracy. We are a democratic republic. Because if you leave decisions like this to the masses, we'll have people strung up for anything.
John Blair, hello. We love you, JB. I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope when you're working for a jurisdiction. And I get what you're saying. Look, being an employee for a private business offers you more civil liberties with your free time than being an employee of a township, a jurisdiction, a county, or a city, or being an elected official. If you're an elected official, we're both in agreement, you're judged at a different standard than an average Joe or Betty.
Fair enough.
Are you judged at a different standard? That's what my next part is. Are you judged at a different standard if you work for the jurisdiction? You're not elected. He's not elected. He's still paid by taxpayers. His salary is our tax dollars. Are you not held to the same accountability scale as the elected official? The jurisdictional employee?
I mean, I'm not saying that there's.
I don't care what you do on your private time. I could care less what you do at your private time, legitimately. Do I want you to embarrass or humiliate the company? No. But I don't care what you do at your private time. Does the city have that kind of patience with private time experiences that I do as a private business owner?
Apparently they do.
Such a slippery slope, dude. We can rip Nakaya for giving gift cards to people speaking before the dais. We can.
But that was.
We can.
There was a serious issue with that.
We can.
That wasn't just like, oh, somebody noticed and we think that's, questionable. It's like, no, that's not something that she should have been doing.
But nothing happened to her.
Yeah.
Nothing happened to her.
Oftentimes,
Joe Plantania, the Commonwealth's
happen.
attorney in Charlottesville, said, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Yeah. Sometimes these things are not, sometimes they're just like things that should be brought to light and questioned. They don't necessarily, you don't need to fire everybody.
I mean,
how many people should have been fired for being involved in A12? It wasn't just nutty, insane right-wing activists that took part in it.
All right, here's a follow-up question. You're doxxed and caught on camera participating in A12. Does the jurisdiction fire you?
I don't think it should. And it shouldn't fire this guy.
I vehemently disagree on that.
So you're saying everybody that was downtown running around while all the stuff was going on should have been fired?
I think if someone was caught on camera participating violently and destructively
so you're saying
in August 12th and committing crimes, yeah.
So you're saying somebody caught this guy on camera doing something violent.
They caught him on camera going into the Capitol 3 or 4 people ahead of the leader of the Proud Boys.
He walked into the. Did I miss something that everybody else saw? I mean,
What, dude? Rioters in a secure building that's associated with government. Not supposed to be there. Rioters who on social media are posting content about aligning ideologically, thank you, with the radical right, who work in public safety. You have to admit this is a messy look.
I don't know how any of that affects his job.
Dude.
And
we work in the perception business.
And if okay, so what? And if the FBI has cleared the guy, are we in the right to string him up?
I think Kevin Higgins, the king of Greenwood, watching the program right now, is trying to offer some perspective. I believe it's tough to read tone through comments on Facebook. But I believe this is sarcasm. If I were the city manager, I would fire any employee that made a scene at the Scottsville parade, much less the Capitol event. You pull that, you're a goner. Is that sarcasm there from the King of Greenwood? It's tough to read tone.
I don't know. That sounded like it was lacking sarcasm to me.
You thought that was straightforward and honest from him?
Yeah.
All right, two more, because I got a 1:15 conference call, so I got a hard stop at 1:15. Got 7 minutes. Walk me through this. The skate park on Route 250 is getting lights, so skaters can skate at night. But soccer players don't get lights at Darden Towe on Route 20. Walk me through that. Is it strictly because of the influence of the Cascadia neighborhood? That there's a residential neighborhood across from the soccer field and the potential light pollution is enough reason and the impact on quality of life on Cascadia for Darden Towe not to get lights and turf, but the skate park, because it's on 250 and there's not really neighborhoods around it, it can get the lights.
I think that's part of it. I think you're also talking about a different level of lighting to light a soccer field and to light those two smaller skate park areas.
But we're in agreement now that the lights are very sophisticated and that they're not shining peripherally, the lights. They shine downward now. This is not the stadium lighting from when you and I were children, where you could see the glow from the lights from miles away. This is targeted downward lighting where light pollution is much more controlled now than it was when you and I were children.
That's a good argument. I mean, that argument should be made to the people in Cascadia. I don't know what kind of lighting they had planned for Darden Towe Park, but perhaps they should have done a better job of appeasing isn't the right word. Reassuring the people of Cascadia that they wouldn't be affected the way they seem to believe they'll be affected.
Right. Travis Hackworth is watching in Danville. Perception does not trump the constitutional right to be a moron. It's basically saying that dude should never have been in there.
No, he's saying he has the constitutional right to go and do something stupid, and that doesn't mean that he's automatically should be fired. Read it again.
Travis, what did you mean by that comment? Kevin Higgins, I was wrong. He's saying there's no sarcasm at all.
Yeah.
Kevin Higgins says, I could care less what that employee is trying to represent. You work for my company, you work for me, you're going to get fired on the spot if you make a fool of yourself at the Scottsville parade, let alone a Capitol event. That's how I feel.
And that's
100% how I feel.
And that's a boss's prerogative, no doubt about it.
If you were on A12 running amok and taking a part of that riot and destroying stuff over there, you'd be fired. It would be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And you would get it.
Yeah, I would get it. My problem with A12 is that everybody acts like it was only one side that was involved in that, and it wasn't.
Ray Cadell is watching. He says the no lights thing at Darden Towe Park goes back many years and was the original deal. My in-laws, rest in peace, lived directly across from the tennis courts for many years.
Yeah.
Kevin says if it's not sarcasm at all, if we do not recalibrate our expectations, we are a goner. A city employee was a part of that January 6th circus. Goodbye. It's time to be Charlottesville again. That's what I'm saying. It's literally what I'm saying. Charlottesville is trying to rehabilitate its image. And it has an employee in City Hall in public safety that was an insurrectionist in the Capitol. Travis says Judah was right, but it depends on the employee contract. Get some lights at Darden Towe so the kids can play soccer. And put some grass some turf on the fields. Because the fields right now are mud pits. After last night's rain, the kids will be playing soccer in mud quicksand instead of on grass.
I mean, that's what happens with...
Not if it's turf, it doesn't.
Oh, fair enough.
Not if it's turf, it doesn't. CarLotz is closing 50% of its stores. Quickly, before we get to the news about which corporations are closing, I want you to bang those out quickly. We have about 90 seconds left. Dude, the CarLotz is a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. At the time of its IPO, which was January 2021, it IPO'd at $11.92 a share.
Yeah.
It is now at 48 cents a share. It IPO'd CarLotz on Pantops. There's a lot of CarLotz. It's not just Pantops. At $11.92 a share, January 2021. It's now at 48 cents per share. As a result, 50% of the CarLotz are going to close down. They are also terminating 25 to 30% of their employees. The Charlottesville store is safe for now. The general manager of the Charlottesville store is friend of the program, Ned Galloway of the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. Rattle off the corporate chains that are closing quickly.
I mean, I think there's far too many to just rattle off, but some of the big ones are 200 branches for CVS, 800 stores, 800 Dunkin' Donuts stores. Let's see, 400 Starbucks, 200 Walgreens.
You guys see what's happening in the economy, right?
Well, you know, I've got 900 GNC branches. So here's a different take on all of this. Yes, a lot of this I think has to do with the fact that companies are cutting back with everything that's going on.
They're
with
repositioning
the
their business models.
Yeah, but it's not always necessarily a bad thing. It could be just a restructuring. I know some businesses have
This is a bad thing, dude. This will lead to unemployment.
Well, yes, it will.
This is businesses seeing the crap storm on the horizon, cutting overhead as quickly as possible. In a handful of months from now.
Well, there's another perspective.
Are you talking Larry Summers?
No.
16 million unemployed is how we put inflation in check?
No.
What's the other one?
Look, if these companies were to go bankrupt, then all of their stores will be closing. If they're restructuring and cutting out the stores that were doing poorly, then they're doing what's right for their company and possibly saving jobs.
Yeah, because they can survive.
Obviously, they're going to have to let some people go as they close branches and stores. But if those branches were not making a profit, then they were risking the entire company.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the way to look at it from the company's perspective. I'm looking at it from the country's perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
both perspectives are applicable.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that my perspective is
I'm
better.
just looking at it from
They
the
are
perspective. I
both
think we're about to see a
applicable.
hell of a lot more people unemployed.
I think
And
so
we're going
too.
to see a lot of jobs go away.
Yeah.
And I think when we get out of this recession, we'll close on this because I got to go. I'm late. When we get out of this recession and these jobs go away, the jobs that come back are going to be jobs that are going to be filled by AI and robots and technology. You mark it down. We're going to look back on history and say the recession of 2022 was when technology, AI, and robots started cannibalizing positions for people because companies got really, really tight and smart. All right, that's the show. I'm out of here. For Judah, I'm Jerry. It's the I Love CVille Show. So long.